the citation briefly. Utomi is an entrepreneur who has founded or co-founded companies that are active in fields including financial services, ICT, media, and agriculture. He was candidate for president of Nigeria in 2007 and 2011. Prof has reached the top in several different endeavors, becoming one of Nigeria's top managers in manufacturing before his 33rd birthday, reaching a presidential advisory position at 27 years, earning 2 master's degrees and a PhD at 26, and a professorship and global acknowledgement as a leading scholar in business, political economy, and media studies in his 40s. He also belongs to many professional bodies. He's a member Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, NIPR, Institute of Directors, IOD, Nigerian Economic Summit Group, and Nigerian Economic Society. He coordinated the establishment of several civil society groups on good governance and accountability, such as Transparency Nigeria, the Center for Values in Leadership, the Concerned Professionals, and the Restoration Group in the business sphere. Prof. Utomi was the vice chairman, Platinum Habib Bank. He is an accomplished columnist and chairman, Business Day Media Limited, and creator of Patitos Gang. If you haven't joined, please listen one day. Patitos Gang, a television talk show. He has served on the key apex private sector associations, including the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the National Council of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, and the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association, NECA. He is active on the international speaking circuit, especially on the subject of growth economics, comparative development, leadership, and the cost of oil and China's economic surge and growing influence in Africa. He has collaborated fairly frequently with the Center for Strategic and International Studies in Washington and Chatham House in the UK. He has also written commission papers for the UK's DFID, including the latest collaboration with colleagues from Oxford on the political economy of growth in Nigeria. Next, Amos Oluwatoye. Amos Oluwatoye is a socio-political philosopher, non-violent revolutionary, writer, and truist. He is actively involved in research, community and international development projects focused on peace building, a non-violent movement for societal change, political violence, public policy, and international development. He was actively involved in various peace and development projects. He worked with a theme of amplify the voices of underrepresented locals in Nigeria through advocating for local government autonomy and local governance social accountability as a policy program specialist with the Nigerian Global Affairs Council. As a research policy fellow with Building Blocks for Peace Foundation, he worked with other researchers on various peace research projects. He was a development research fellow with DataVire Research LLC, where he finalized a term paper on justice and peace through nonviolent resistance for sustainable development in Ogoni community. Oluwatoye is the author of a resistance novel, The Journey of a Generous Man, 2020. Two of his articles include The Arts in Today's Movement, Insights from Nigeria's EndSARS protest, Nigeria, and How Agents Provocators Triggered Government Repression During the EndSARS Movement. He's presently working with the Africa Policy Journal at Harvard University to finalize his peer-reviewed article, Peace Education Policy, a synergy to mitigating violent conflict risk and peace building in Nigeria. He is a peace advocate with several awards. Esther Ogene Edward. Esther is an nomad educator with years of experience coordinating programs aimed at bridging education and gender gaps for children and youth in grassroots communities through various NGOs in Nigeria. She is the founder of Bluebird Leadership Initiative, a youth-led organization committed to promoting inclusive education in rural communities across Nigeria. Esther served as a policy tracker and non-resident fellow at the Nigerian Global Affairs Council and has worked with Iranwo Foundation and the Purple Girl Foundation over the years. She was in 2019 Carrington Youth Fellow, a U.S. Consulate Fellowship for Emerging Leaders in Lagos, Nigeria, and also participated in the Orange Corners Incubation Program where she acquired practical business management skill. Up next, we have Omowumi Alakija. Omowumi is an educational officer with expertise in English as second language. Omowumi has been recognized for championing inclusive learning strategies that improve students' communication and cognitive skills. She has a track record of participating in the design, development, implementation, and review of assessment and reporting systems to reinforce best learning approaches. Omowumi is passionate about bridging academic gaps and promoting high academic standards in student performances, adept at establishing clear objectives for all lessons while communicating them to students in a concise manner. Ambassador Rukaya Mohammed. Rukaya Mohammed is the Director of Health and Environment Nigerian Youth Congress and also the Vice Chair of Violence Based on Gender. Ambassador Rukaya Mohammed is a community activist in Nigeria. She is the CEO of Women Rights and Sustainable Society and has developed a range of youth-led projects over 11,000 youths in over 45 different communities. Her experience spans from environmental chemist, capacity building, advocacy, and women rights. Currently, she's convening the work of Nigeria's largest youth climate network to promote, preserve, and protect the climate situation in Nigeria and across. She co-designed and experiment innovative projects that build leadership, increase awareness for youth to catalyze Africa's development and social changes. Ambassador Rukaya Mohammed is very industrious, knowledgeable, and skillful with a great sense of responsibility. Ambassador Isaac Aggie is a legal practitioner, corporate and property consultant. Also, just to mention some other few snippets about Isaac Sylvester, he is a private legal practitioner and principal counsel in SI Aggie & Co. Elite Chamber. He is also a consultant for Citizens Gavel. In 2019, his article written on the Nigerian Data Protection Regulation was selected as winner of the Adavies Allow Essay Competition on Privacy and Data Protection, Young Lawyers category. He also won the PUC Challenge 2021 edition. He is an alumnus of the Lagos Business School and non-resident policy fellow in the Nigerian Global Affairs Council. And my humble self, Diplomat Ibrahim Onoja, the Director of Public Relations and moderator of today's edition. Briefly, the Nigerian Global Affairs Council is a technology-based and digital media-driven public policy and evidence-based research think tank focused on policy concerns that revolve around governance and public administration within the Nigerian state. Now back to the discussion. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't know if we have Esther Edward ready for the discussion. Esther, are you with us? Can you say hi briefly, Esther, if you're with us?
Yes, I am.
Oh, thank you so much, Esther, for joining us today. Can you please turn on your camera so we can also see you?
Okay, can you see me now?
Try to add you to pin, sorry. Oh, yes, I can see you, Esther. Thank you so much for joining us today. So good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Also, we have Professor Utomi here, who is joining the conversation as well. Just to also beam the spotlight on him. Pat is here with us today, and other guests with us. Prof, thank you so much for joining us, sir.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. So briefly, let me quickly take Esther Edward for, I'll give all the non-resident policy fellow briefly 5 minutes for the opening session, then we quickly engage with Prof. Utomi, who is with us already. So Esther, over to you. Tell me, are you interested? Have you been conscious about the 2023 elections, and what do you think the fate of young Nigerians are with the 2023 elections?
Okay, so I'm going to start with this. I think the 2023 election is going to be the first election I will have the opportunity to vote. And that is because I was ineligible as at the previous election. So I'm really excited. I've had to go had to go register for my card. However, I have still not been given the permanent, the voter's card. So even though I have the receipts, and that's been for so many months, and I heard that that's the challenge a lot of young people are facing. For those people who have had to just register for the voter's card, even though they have this paper receipts, we still do not have the voter's card, the actual one we can use. And somehow I am a bit worried that we don't end up becoming disenfranchised by not towards the deadline, and we don't end up not getting the voter's card, even though we've taken steps. So as a young person, I've always been interested in politics. I've always been interested in leadership. And it is mainly because I have learned that it's not just enough for me to work in grassroots communities, even though that's what I do. You also need people in policy making decisions, people who at the helm of affairs, to be able to implement all of those ideas. So it's very important that even as young people working in grassroots communities, it may seem like your voice is not heard. So I may not have the network per se. I may not have the power per se. I may not have the money per se. But if I can work collectively with other young people, I can actively put in position somebody that mirrors my thoughts. So it's very important. Personally, I believe that we should all we all have an active role to play, and this goes beyond noise making on social media. Now we can leverage social media to make the right kind of noise, like we did during the NSAS campaign. I don't know how many of us witnessed the force, the change we were able to make, not necessarily change, the force we were able to make during the NSAS campaign, leveraging social media. And I think we can also do that during the coming election. However, beyond social media, it's time for us to take the news to grassroots communities. It's time for us to work hand in hand with other young people. So it's now breaking down information. How do we convince people that they have a role to play? So, for instance, I live in a grassroots community, right? And I was speaking with somebody, and I told them, is there something we can do within this community to mobilize youth, to encourage other young people to go get their voter's card? And they say, my vote does not count. The only thing I'm thinking of right now is how to get my visa and leave this country. And when you ask them why, you hear things like, why is vying for position, say I'm a president, you say, I'm not too young to rule. But somehow the money to get the presidential form is at 100 million naira. How is a young person below 30 going to be able to raise 100 million naira? Then, politics has become so expensive in terms of, you get flyers, you need to mobilize people. I even hear that you have to even pay for campaigns. You have to pay for people to come to your campaigns, which is really funny. So my point is this. We need to get to that point where I'm not just conscious of the power I wield as a young person. I'm also very deliberate. I'm also very deliberate. I'm also very deliberate in ensuring that people around me are also conscious of the power they yield. So I'm a young person. I know like 50 young people. How do I ensure that those young people also come into that consciousness that, oh, this coming election, I'm not just going to join the queue and vote for whoever. I'm going to take time to study the candidates. How do I ensure? So it's me now saying I'm conscious of the fact that the election is coming, and those in power, they play a big role in how it affects my life and my future. And it's also me saying how do I start mobilizing people around me to ensure that they are ready and they are also conscious. And it's not this big grammar I'm speaking now, especially for grassroots communities, especially for people who are not educated per se. So it's not this big grammar. How do we break it down? How do we democratize information for young people who are uneducated in the grassroots communities? So that is the conversations I want us to start having. And that's what I'm working towards as a young person deliberately.
Thank you so much, Esther. I'm thrilled listening to you and hearing your contribution and what you're doing at your own community, at your local level. Because I can tell you, you're part of a big society, a big community of change agents that are particular about the next election. And if we all put hands together, just like you're doing, I can tell you for free that we're going to certainly effect the change we're yearning for and looking forward to. So thank you so much, Esther. It's so good having you with us once again. Up next, I don't know, we have with us Amos. Amos is with us. Omoumi Alakija is also with us. Quickly, Sylvester, can you hear me? Are you with us?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Mr.
Good afternoon.
Abraham.
We can hear you, but we can't see you.
Yes, Mr. Abraham, I
Yes,
would
please.
kindly apply that you kindly excuse me. I may not be able to put on my videos now. I was actually on the way. I thought I would get home before the meeting time and everything, but unfortunately I was caught while I was on the way. So, and where I am now, honestly, I'm not too comfortable with it. So if
No, it's okay. It's fine. It's fine.
All right.
Esther gave us a very interesting opener by telling us what she's doing at her own level, at her community, of how to sensitize people to go get their PVC, the role they all need to play, and what we all collectively need to do to see how we can step this message to people who are not on Twitter, on Facebook, and social media, but at the local, remote level. So tell me, are you interested? Are you excited about 2023? What does this portray for young people? Do we stand a chance of affecting any change as young people in Nigeria? Talk to me, sir.
Oh, very well then. Thank you so much once again for the opportunity. So my answer straightforward is yes. I'm basically super excited about 2023. And the reason basically is because just like Esther observed, a lot of people are actually getting sensitized, about the need for them to come out and then elect their leaders. Gone are the days when there is a lot of the voter apathy culture where people would, be like, even if I go out to vote, that, the vote may not count, among other things. I feel that the youths these days are getting more and more engaged in politics and also as to the election of their leaders, basically. So, for instance, I was reading the news the other day, and the INEC chairman came out to say that this was in April, basically. Hello, are you with me, sir?
Yes, there was a glitch, but I can hear you now.
Oh, very well. Thank you so much, sir. So I was speaking to what sometime in April. He said out of the about 1.3 million persons that registered for their voters card, that about 78 to 79%, constitute the youth, basically. So you could see that already And that tells you that the youth, there's a change in the mindset of the youth, for them to have come out this much, to register. That tells you that 2023 is going to be, a different ball game, basically. And I'm super excited about that. But beyond that, I'm also excited about the fact that, the Electoral Act 2022 was passed. You would agree with me that this has been, a long time coming. Came with it with a lot of very laudable provisions. If you give me the opportunity, I will just highlight a few of them that I feel are actually quite opposite to us. So, for instance, the early commencement of primaries. I feel that is a laudable provision. This is contained in Section 29, sub 1 of the Electoral Act 2022. This provides, for primaries to be held at least 180 days before, the general elections. I feel that this is good, and it takes care of, the hitherto circumstance where you find that, aspirants will want to go to court, particularly the aggrieved ones. They will go to court when the general election is already by the corner, and then probably when the election is over, they will come up with a judgment saying that, the court has declared me as the winner of the primaries, and so I should have been the one to have participated in the election, and all. So many issues basically. But with this new provision, basically, it allows for a lot of time, within which the primaries will be conducted, and anyone that wants to go to court can go to court and then at least resolve the issue before the general election.
So,
very well. So I feel that this provision is actually quite laudable. Then also the provision of Section 29 sub 5 of the Electoral Act, that provision is equally opposite as far as the 2023 elections is concerned. So, the hitherto position is that any member of the public who feels that, he has evidence to the effect that an aspirant presented maybe an information that is false, maybe to INEC and all that, any member of the public could actually rise up and challenge that. But by virtue of Section 29 sub 5, at the moment, it is only an aspirant that can do that. So that means that a medical interloper cannot just, wake up one morning and be like, look, let me just interfere or interrupt the smooth proceedings or smooth process of, the election by, raising doubts and all that. So basically, that is actually a laudable provision as far as I am concerned. Then also, there is also the provision of Section 84. I believe this particular section is actually a very famous one. I want to believe that as a fact that this particular section is in court awaiting the Supreme Court's decision as to whether it is constitutional or not. So that section actually provides for political appointees, basically, that if you are a political appointee.
Sorry, Sylvester, to interrupt. Can you please now prepare to round up, please?
Oh, very well. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Don't mind me. I talk too much at times.
It's fine. I'm enjoying what you're saying and understanding it.
So yes, basically, what I'm trying to speak to is that with the enactment of the 2022 Electoral Act, that the 2023 elections is actually going to be seamless. At least we are going to experience some form of peace when it comes to the election process, basically. Gone will be those days when, for instance, after the votes, we'll hear about, the ballot papers being hijacked by, hoodlums and all that. Now we have a provision that covers or that provides for electronic transmission of results. So if you hijack the physical papers, there is a backup to it, so it will be difficult for any politician to want to interfere basically with particularly the 2023 election. So I feel that with this in place, it will give more confidence to youth and also other voters, eligible voters, basically to come out on the date fixed for election to vote, because they know that eventually their votes will count. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Sylvester. I'm happy. I can almost feel your enthusiasm. I can feel your pulse from here. Thank you so much for that interpretation, for also encouraging youth on this platform to understand that there is a change in the system today. And then they can also run, vote, and be voted for. Some of those hurdles and ordeals that were faced in the past, most of them have been sorted as at now. Thank you so much for that, Sylvester. Amos, are you here? Are you with us?
Oh, yes, I'm here.
Okay, can you turn on your camera?
Okay.
Oh, fantastic.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay.
Yeah, it's so good to have you speak to us today.
Okay,
Esther has
thank you so
spoken
much for
on
the
her
opportunity.
role and what she's doing at her local community. Sylvester has shed more light and insight on some amendments that have been done and that looks to favor young Nigerians. Tell me,
Okay.
what is the role of a young man or young people in 2023 elections? Do we stand any chance? Do you have 100 million to buy APC form, or do you have, I think, 50 or so million to buy the PDP form? Tell me, what are the chances of young people emerging in 2023?
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. We may not have 100 million, but we have the power to sit and unseat
Thank you.
any government that is not palatable to the country. I used to tell people that there is no revolution anywhere. The revolution you are looking for is within you. There is any revolution that cannot happen within, cannot happen without. The revolution that cannot happen in Nigeria cannot be given to us by United States of America. So several years ago, I watched a movie. The title of the movie is a series movie, The Prison Break. The key actor in that movie was Michael Scofield, if I'm right.
Scofield, yes.
He did something. He mapped out a strategy and a tactics for people to be released, to escape from the prison. And we all know the stories. Now, Martin Luther King Jr. said, and I quote, he said, "The freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressed." The freedom Nigeria is looking for is never voluntarily given by our oppressor. We must demand it through a non-violent means. And we have an opportunity coming in 2023. It seems to be our last opportunity, our last chance. I urge every youth to use the election as a non-violent means to kick out any government that they know that they are not performing, to kick out any political deception that is ravaging this country. I was in a meeting in Niger Delta Peace Network, and we were talking about violent conflict prevention, the election that is coming, and somebody stood up and he said, the government has said that nobody should protest, that anyone that protests this and this will happen. And I stood up and I said, do you know the population of Nigeria? We are more than 200 million people. And the youth are more than 50 million, close to 100 million. As I say, if 5% or 10% of the population of this country comes out to protest, there is no armory in the Nigerian army that will stop it. So I'm trying to tell us about the Nigerian youth power. We have the population to sit and unseat any government that is not palatable. As one of the speakers have said, this is not the time for big grammar. This is not the time of social media making noise on social media. The power is in your vote. We know the right candidate. Then why are we trying to be on the bandwagon? Somebody said, and I quote, he said, humanity is not a mob. A mob is a degeneration of humanity. A mob is humanity going the wrong way. It is high time we stop being a mob. It is high time we stop going on the bandwagon because a particular political party is popular. So it means that I want to be on the winning side. It is time for the Nigerian youth to be resilient enough and be courageous enough to vote for the man of truth. So we
Thank
have
you
a
so
very
much, Amos.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry I had to cut it there because of time, but
Thank you.
I picked
Yeah.
a lot of
Thank
things
you.
from what you said. Trust me, non-violent revolution is what we need. And it can only start with our votes to vote and vote out bad government in 2023.
Definitely.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Amos.
Okay,
Wumi
thank you.
Alakija, are you there?
Hello, good afternoon or good morning. I'm here. Can you
Wumi,
hear
are you
me?
still in Nigeria?
I'm in Nigeria. I can
Oh,
hear everyone.
fantastic. Just a minute, please. Do we have Rukayat Mohammed here with us, please? Rukayat, can you unmute, please, if you're here? Okay. Thank you so much. I just wanted to confirm if our other panelist is here. Wumi, can you please go ahead, please? Thank you so much for joining us. Can you please unmute and turn on your camera, please?
Thank you, Brian. But I won't be able to turn on my camera. I'm
Okay.
a little bit indisposed right now.
Okay, no problem. I think lending a voice to the role of young people as it relates to the 2023 election is very important. And I'd like to hear your thoughts on that, please. We had Esther who shared her thoughts, Sylvester and Amos. So can you please in 5 minutes talk to us before we welcome Professor Patutomi, please?
All right. Thank you very much for letting me say something. I would just like to say that just like I listened to Esther and she said something about social media bickering and all of that. I totally agree with her. I think that beyond social media, the Nigerian youth must register their presence in the political space. It's really important that we form a political party that serves as a window of opportunity for the younger generation to contest elections. Anything we are doing now, we should remember that it's not just for us, it's for the people coming behind us. We must also sensitize the public with visible manifestos. It's not okay to just talk and talk and talk. And you notice that most of the things, one of the major problems we have is that when political leaders or those who are contesting come out to talk on television or social media or about, they have very lofty ideas. But the problem is always how are you going to go about this? They usually don't have a plan along that line. And those are one of the issues that we have. So we need innovative ideas and developmental goals for national advancement. It's also important to bear in mind that some of the things we'll be doing are going to be long-term. It's going to be a long-term battle, bearing in mind that the political overhaul will not be without resistance. We already know the problems we are facing, and none of them want to leave. So we have to go there. You have to bear in mind that we're going to face oppression from all corners relating to finance. We can already see what's happening right now. And it's also important that you lend your voice. We lend our voices to issues that are germane to facilitate democracy. Most of the time, we have a lot of distractions. Distractions comes in various forms. But as much as we want to be social media savvy, we want to be, I don't know how to put it now, we want to be the younger generation, we want to be high, but we should also lend our voices to issues that are germane to facilitate democracy, just like Esther is doing where she is. I'm also a teacher in an underserved community, and some of the things that I've noticed is that the parents of the students that I teach do not understand all these things we're saying right now, and they do not even have the they don't have access to all this information. So it's important that when we build all these political parties, we put all of this into consideration, that we are actually going to reach the grassroots people, because they are the ones that actually determine, how the political space will look like. They are the ones that are used, and that the people, all of the lofty ideas and plans that we have, sometimes when the political bigwigs know how to, exploit them and all of that. So those are the people that we really need to impress. That's people that we really need to talk to, and they do listen sometimes. It's just that many of us are not really getting down to where we are supposed to be. Then on our PVC, it's important that you don't just get the PVC. It's important that you vote during elections. It's in the permanent voters card. As just go there, make sure that you vote, and if possible, you can sit and watch how the process goes. I think that's all I have to say.
Thank you so much, Omawumi. You stuck to your 5 minutes. Thank you so much. In fact, before we start the conversation, go get your PVC. Go and get your PVC. It is very important. All of these conversations will go to waste if we cannot even vote at the end of the day. Thank you so much. Your Excellency, can you please unmute, sir?
Okay.
Yes, fantastic. Thank you so much. I know how tight your Saturdays are, and I know where you were and the efforts you made to be here with us, same as other policy fellows. Thank you so much, sir. A lot has been said regarding 2023 elections and the role of young people and Nigerians, ranging from community sensitization to understanding the modalities that have been affected with the laws, understanding the place to get your vote and be voted for. I know you've been involved lately with engaging with young Nigerians and talking to us on what we need to do to take power from this old elites and what we need to do to effect a change in the society. This is a larger platform, sir. Can you talk to us on the 2023 elections and the role of young people, sir?
Well, thank you so very much, Abraham, and to all of you. I think that to really come to a full understanding of what we're dealing with, it is important to evaluate where our country is. We are in the middle of an existential crisis. Really, truly, honestly. I have been in the struggle for building a better Nigeria since I was 17 years old. That would be clearly 50 years next year. In those 50 years, I've never come as close to seeing our country really in the kind of desperate situation that it is in today. And a number of factors have been responsible. And I think that young people need to be sensitive to the fact that it is their future that is about to be incinerated, to be really burnt up by what is going on in Nigeria. And sadly, it is not because of the wickedness of some people or the other. It is just that we have let a combination of greed and ignorance and the desire to dominate others by a few people get us to a point where our country is, for all intents and purposes, dysfunctional. The government is dysfunctional. The outcomes in terms of how people live, frightening. I mean, you all know the numbers, the statistics, poverty capital of the world. In 10 years between us and Congo DRC, another very endowed country, will have 40% of the most miserable people on the planet Earth, if Nigeria is still together, because very, very honestly, I am one of those who believe that the way things are, there might be no Nigeria even 3 years from now, if the same sets of people continue in power, because they don't pause to reflect on what they have done. And they think it's okay so long as they can manage to extract rent from the system, buy private jets, buy glittering SUVs, and all of that. So it is an existential crisis that is before us as a country. So what do young people do faced with this? I mean, what we did 50 years ago was protest, and protest massively. In fact, we used to do it such that something will happen in the country, and before we even know what was responsible, we're on the streets. And this is not the generation of protests. You don't understand it, even though NSAS was a remarkable response to the challenge, and I pay great tribute to the young people who rose in the NSAS ways. It is important. It's a critical part of the democratic process to be able to use protest to raise your voice. Stephen R. Covey says that the most important habit of the 21st century is to help people find their voice. Most people are just statistics. Their voices are lost. The duty of the more educated, the more passionate is to help the rest find their voice. This is why this is a very important platform that you are building up here. You know, sometimes we are faced with a sense of powerlessness. Oh, what can we do? We don't have money. They say they're paying 100 million. But that is precisely the point. That is where we begin. I mean, you know that the current political class in Nigeria has weaponized poverty. They actually have a vested interest in the poverty of the Nigerian people, because if the Nigerian people are poor, it's easy for them to come out and give out a few thousand naira to make people vote for them, the few who will come out. But more importantly, they have so lost touch that at a time in our country's history when people are struggling so badly, many people can't eat, poverty is so endemic, people can be paying 100 million naira, can be giving delegates $30,000 a piece. There are people who, in the last 48, 72 hours, because somebody called them some street guy, come and be a delegate, would have made more than $100 and something thousand from people who are aspiring. Now, anybody who can put on a thinking cap will know that invariably someone pays for it. The translation is poverty. It's just like the news. ASU has been on strike for months now. Universities are shut. The possibilities for people to get their life better through education, the very key to how China ascended, to how things have changed in the world, that is being dimmed by this shutdown of the university system. But one man, I mean, I think all ASU is asking for something like 19 billion or whatever to get the system up and running. One man puts 80 billion in his pocket, and that's just one transaction. In my time, all the students will be on the streets now demanding things to happen to those people who are corrupt, the people who are spending this kind of money in the name of getting elected, insisting that EFCC arrest everybody who has paid 100 million to show us the pattern of how they made the money, the jobs that were created for from their effort to make that money. These are basic things that young people are not responding to, and we're on Twitter talking about all kinds of things. But this is our future being literally squashed right in our very presence. What can young people do? Plenty. Look, Barack Obama started from being a community organizer. Do we have community? I heard Esther very clearly, wonderful thoughts. How do we become community organizers and mobilize grassroots people and talk to them about what makes the country great and stuff like that? I think young people's future, smart young people, they've got to see their future in volunteerism, in taking out a part of the early stage of their lives to volunteer and go into the community and organize people. Community organizers are very important people in the building blocks of politics. And this is where they get really properly put together. Then I think there's also the point that we sometimes take for granted, which is the fact that this technology, besides our numbers, which is so important, I think one of those who spoke earlier was trying to give some averages of young people. I think his estimates are actually quite low. Young people constitute more than 60% of the voting age people. If we do not use that power, first combine the numbers with the technology to organize these people out, then we are in serious trouble. I can tell you as somebody who was there at the founding of APC, who was there at the founding of PDP, but who chose, because of the values I saw emerging, not to play in their court, that continuing in the play of that value system will definitely bring Nigeria to a close and end. I'm not joking. from what I see clearly within a few years, if it manages to go that far. In 1999, an American called Kalmeya wrote a book about Nigeria. It was titled, "This House Has Fallen, Midnight in Nigeria." Now, you can imagine that people perceived where Nigeria was in 1999, which is really light years ahead of where we are today. And they thought that the house had fallen in 1999. The truth is, if we don't act fast, the speed with which we are traveling down the road to Somalia will accelerate in a way that we'll wake up in the morning and we're not going to be sure. Look, let me give you some simple examples because people don't seem to put practical context to what is going on. We talk about, well, they're doing this, we make a joke of it on social media and all of that. But this is where we're going. Interestingly enough, Pastor Wale Adefarasing, not Paul, his brother, on his 60th birthday, amongst two of the speakers were the now Vice President of Nigeria and myself, and Dr. Christopher Kolade. I don't recall if he was chair or he was speaking, but the two of us were the major speakers at that event. And I recall that we told very similar stories. The Vice President now, Yemi Osinbajo, and myself, told fairly similar stories from different contexts. And I remember joking, oh, my goodness, the spirit is truly one. He told the story of going to Somalia as part of a UN delegation to help them write a new constitution. Somalia had broken down completely. It was a totally failed state, no laws, no constitution, nothing. So they went in as a UN team to go and help them begin to construct. And he saw a gaunt-looking man, shaking, holding a bowl, desperate for some rice in the refugee camp. The man kind of looked familiar. Anyway, cut a long story short, he actually had met that man before in New York, escorted in a motorcade with siren years before. The man had been Attorney General and then Chief Justice of the country. And here he was in a refugee camp, just begging for a bowl of rice. Don't think this is far-fetched. I have witnessed it myself. I was in the Nigerian Civil War. I saw what it reduced people to. My own story, which I told at that event, I come from Liberia. When I was a grad student in the US, I had a Liberian neighbor. His name was Serenius IV. Aside just one day packed his load, didn't finish his PhD to return because there was so much opportunity in Liberia. This was around 1979. And Sai eventually would become ambassador of Liberia to Nigeria around 1990 in the thick of the Liberian Civil War and all the problems. The Liberian embassy used to be here in Victoria Island, and I lived on VI at the time. And Sai used to come and visit and spend some time visiting us. And we would talk about this experience. And Sai would tell me, look, when I left you in Bloomington to head home, all the opportunities in the world were in front of me, the country, and the politicians were doing the wrong things. And I kept saying, these things are wrong. But if I speak up now, I will lose the position I've been given. I will miss that Mercedes, so I kept quiet. And because I kept quiet, before you knew it, a group of soldiers, staff sergeants, had taken over the country. And he too began to mess up even much more than politicians. And I said, if I speak up now, I will lose my house. I will lose. And then one day, you were driving your Mercedes down the streets and somebody stops you and says, my friend, give me the key of that Mercedes. You say, take, sir. And you say, thank God, oh, it's just Mercedes, my life, I'm alive. Then you say, at least I still have a house. You go back to your house, you say to your wife, look, oh, these thugs have taken the car from me, but thank God, we still have a house. This that night, boom, 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 boom on your door. Say, Commandante won't use this house. All of you, come out. And that's it, you have no house. Before you know it, you're in a refugee camp. This is what faces Nigeria from what the people who are running Nigeria are doing. I can tell you it is not wickedness, but APC, PDP, the culture is going to bring Nigeria to exactly this in a matter of months or years. Unless young people organize and realize that it is their future that is at stake and do everything that is legal to get them out of power. This is what your future, my future possibly. But hey, I've been around long enough to think I've done my bit, I can go. But you should not have to suffer that. And to save yourselves, all you have to do is organize. You cannot afford to even experiment because there's no time left. I wrote a book, and I'll probably just close with that as a last year edition of it. It's titled Why Not? Citizenship, creeping fascism, and the criminal hijack of politics in Nigeria. State capture, citizenship, state capture, creeping fascism, and the criminal hijack of politics in Nigeria. The truth of the matter, to be very frank and honest, I may be reluctant to say this if I'm talking in New York, but the truth of the matter is that the Nigerian state, for all intents and purposes, is now a criminal enterprise. If we don't act and act quickly, we will return to international pariah status. If we don't act and act quickly, all this violence everywhere will result in every part of the collecting tools. And I mean, look at the rate of the killings. Look at Kaduna. Look at across northern Nigeria, and then now in the southeast. That is just a foretaste of what is coming if we don't act. That's why the imperative of acting is the grave urgency of now. But I'm an optimist, and I believe that if young people organize themselves, they can get rid of these people in 2023 by raising their voices very, very stoutly, by registering to vote and then using that technology, the social media, in a constructive way to organize, mobilize, and by volunteering to spend time as community organizers to deal with the less informed part of our society who are down there, not really sensitive to where things are, how bad things are, and what consequences can come from the way things are. Those are my two big thoughts, and I hope that they give you a reason to truly, truly engage and understand the urgency of now. Thank you, Abraham.
Thank you so much, Prof. Listening to you, I don't know. I know I'm not the only one who shares this school of thought, but the onus is on everyone on this webinar today to take a bold step of faith and do the needful. I have listened severally to various, not just high net worth individuals, but scholars who have postulated over and over again, there might be no country in no distant time. The older generation are going to pass this buck to us. But they can't do that if you do not take power from them. Power is never given. It is taken. It is taken. But in a non-violent way, get your PVC. Register to vote. We cannot continue to complain and talk about this system or this process, whereas some people used to say, na politics, Jare, it no concern me. That used to be those days. Now, political decisions and the quality of persons elected into these offices will determine almost everything about us. We can all see these things clearly. You can barely move from the north to the south, from the south to the west, from the west to the east, and all of that. Nobody is safe anywhere. Leadership is a problem we have faced over and over again. Until we try to get it right, we're going to remain in this mess for a long time. So here is just a call again, just to lend my voice to every other speaker and panelist today to say that let us go and register to vote and be voted for. Thank you so much once again, Prof, for your time. And thank you so much for our non-resident policy fellows who took out their time to also lend their voice to this discussion today. Once again, my name is Abraham Onoja, the Director of Public Relations and moderator of today's edition, where we are speaking and discussing around the role of young people as it relates to the 2023 election. This was put together by the Nigerian Global Affairs Council, which is a technology-based and digital media-driven public policy and evidence-based research think tank focused on policy concerns that revolve around governance and public administration within the Nigerian state and how we interact with the larger world. We have heard what we need to do for those who are confused, for those who didn't know what to do, who don't know where to turn to. We all now know the power is in our hands, and we cannot sit idly by and watch the nation collapse. Prof has been active in this since he was 27, was at the federal level at a very young age, and he has consistently remained at the scene. And that's part of the reasons why we invited him to be part of today's edition, to come and speak to us. Once again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We look forward to engaging with you, speaking with you, and hearing your thoughts on our social media platforms as we look forward to the next policy edition for next month. Once again, thank you so much, everyone, and bye for now. And quickly, we take the national anthem once again. Have a nice day ahead, and don't forget, spread the word. Keep speaking, keep saying it. Thank you, and bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thanks. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a nice day ahead.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
All right. Thank you.